Ready to move out.
For 25 years, ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas gave you the straight news. Now, he's giving you real talk on the governor's race.
These Democrats are into name calling. They'll call people a racist, a misogynist, a homophobic person, or whatever, because they want to distract from the fact that they've accomplished so little in public office. And it's time people woke up and recognized that. J.B. Pritzker, what's he ever done outside of being born on third base and telling the world he hit a triple? J.B. Pritzker and his people called Darren Bailey an extremist. Darren Bailey? I met the man. He's a family farmer. Somebody who understands what it's like to go to work every day. Somebody who's fair-minded. I can trust this guy. I can trust this guy. Yeah, a farmer from Southern Illinois. Yeah. Farmer from Southern Illinois.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
Hey, and welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio Black Conservative Podcast. Hey, I want to thank my man. Hey, if you all play, by all means, check out the show prior to mine with Charles Thomas and Mike Wallace, The People's Show. It's called The People's Show from 7 to 9 every Monday night here on iHeart Intellectual Radio, right? And I appreciate the brothers. I appreciate y'all keeping the seat warm for me. All right. So let's get into a couple of things. Tonight. First, I want to say, okay, we all know, okay, because you know, you have the Dark Knight in the house. As you all know, tonight is Halloween. Some people may say Hallelujah Day, or whatever your flavor is, whatever it is, be safe about it. But I want to give a shout out to my my grandkids, to each and every one of them. I want to give a shout out to there, and some of the pictures that I receive of them in their costumes is just absolutely adorable. So I want to give a shout out to Bella Starr, Imani Brooklyn, Gigi, Rose, Liberty, and my little man Luca. We call Lucas, what we call him Luca Brazzi, Nova, Nolan, Millie, Drew Celine, and my man, this was so cute. I had to give it to him. My man AJ out there doing good, dressed as the Dark Knight. Oh, it was so cute. I just loved it. All right. So I'm gonna give a shout out to all of my little babies there. But now let's get into some real deep stuff. Okay, so right now, as you all know, that we are in the we're in the final leg, okay, of the selection of the 2022 election, and we're in the mid. This is basically the midterm, and we are 1 week away. 1 week away from that. 1 week away. Okay, so next Tuesday is election day. Next Tuesday. Okay. So that being said, I mean, if you hear me say all the time, I'm with this voting process and what's going on with it, you're kind of in, but sometimes people are kind of in between. So if you're one of those individuals that vote, by all means, you have, exercise your right to vote. That's your privilege, and for those who don't vote, you're entitled to that. You're entitled to that too. No, as they say, no harm, no foul. Okay. And it is what it is. No harm, no foul. You do, hey, as they say, do you. So we are at this particular point. So right now that the races are so heated till it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, especially here in Illinois between Darren Bailey and J.B. Pritzker. That's a heated race. And then, as we look across the country, there are several other instances to where races are so heated, especially like in Georgia, okay, between this cracks me up, okay, and I thought that church and state weren't supposed to mix, but you got the Reverend Warnock, get that name, Warnock, against the former NFL running back, Herschel Walker. I kid you not. Now, okay. Warnock is he's a Democrat, and Herschel Walker represents the Republicans. Now, from all indication that this race is it's neck and neck. But from now we can't go on these polls, or we can't go on what they on what they're really saying, because I mean we're only 1 week out. But at the moment they're saying it's a dead heat. One report saying that Walker is leading. Another report was saying that that Warnock is leading. This is what it's this is what it is. It is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. That being said, this is the key thing about these two individuals with Warnock and Walker is that this particular seat, I kid you not, this particular seat is for control. Believe it or not, is for control of the Senate. Because here's the thing. In order for the Republicans to control the Senate, to gain control of both houses, they need 6 seats for the House. They need 6 seats for the House, and they actually need 1 seat for the Senate. But from all indication, it sounds like that they may the Republicans are subject to gain. I get this. Subject to gain 6 seats in the Senate and 4 seats in the House, which will give them complete control of both chambers, which means that this will be a Republican-led Congress during the last half of the Biden administration. Now, that spells bad news. Now, this was about a week ago when Chuck Schumer, who is the House, I've checked that the Senate majority leader. Okay. He meets up with Biden on the tarmac, and they have a brief conversation. Now, understand something. You see, when people are when you're out and about, and you are you are an important person, a political figure, a celebrity, you have to realize that the cameras and microphones are always going 24/7, no matter where you are, what you're doing. So as Biden and Schumer meet on the tarmac, they have a discussion, and Biden goes on to say, you have any, what's the news? You got any good news for me? What's happening? So as Schumer proceeds to proceed to tell him, hey, this is what's going on, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Unbeknownst to Schumer, this is caught on the sound bite. You can look this up and fact check it for yourself. He goes on to say, well, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. Biden looks at him as if to, and Biden, has that proverbial the goat lost in high grass look. And then Schumer goes on to elaborate, and he says, well, we're losing a couple of states, and one of the states that we are going, his words were, we are going to lose is Georgia. Now, Chuck Schumer said this to the president on a hot mic, and he said that we're going to lose Georgia. Okay. And then he goes on to say, now get this, Earl. Then he goes on to say, I can't believe those people are going with Herschel Walker. So what are you trying to say? What are you really trying to say? Here's the other thing. This is the other thing that people fail to realize about this particular race in Georgia. See, one of the things that people that they forgot, okay, Atlanta, but Atlanta, see, one of the things that people make the mistake about elections is that they think because there's a huge populace or metropolis, say Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, Minneapolis, say Texas, or these particular cities. Most people are, most laymen or the soft melons in the room, as Georgia tends to put it. They think that makes up the entire population as far as voting. No. For example, when people say, well, in order to win the state of Illinois, you got to win Chicago. That's not true. Chicago is just one county out of 108. Chicago's a city in a county. There's 108 counties in the city, 108 counties in the state of Illinois. Okay. Cook County is only one of 108. So you can win Cook County. You can possibly win Will, DuPage, Lake, Kankakee, the surrounding counties, and still lose the state because you have the others. See, and there's where majority, and this is where people get confused, especially in Georgia, because they're thinking Atlanta, by being a large populace and being 37% black. I'm sorry, not 37%, being 61% black. They think that's a carryover. They think that carries. No, that's just a county. Atlanta is in the county of Fulton, which shares Cobb also. Those two counties share a little bit of Atlanta. Then there's a runoff or a spillover or a runoff. This is where the confusion begins. This particular election is going to make it's really going to really set everything on its head, because you have so many heated races. You got a race here. Also, you have a race out in Arizona. Now, the young lady that's running out there in Arizona, she used to be a former political anchor. And she's out there running, and she is killing it. She's a Republican, and she's killing it. Here's why she's killing it: because she's one of those individuals that knows where the bodies are buried. She knows who wrote what check for what chick, or guy, or boy, or girl. She knows who wrote the check. She knows, and she's telling all of the dirt, all of the juicy details. And not only that, but she's using the same media venue that she was once part of. And then she's calling them out as hypocrites. As she said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. She's using the same template Donald Trump used to win the presidency. Basically, telling the truth, letting you all know, hey, this is a game. This is rigged. This is fixed. You can't be an average Joe and run for political office because you don't have that kind of money. See, the real principle was that anyone should, when they tell you, when you take the Constitution, and they say, well, okay, in order to be a political figure, in order to be president or congressman or whatever, congressperson, whatever, you have to be an American citizen. You have to be the age of 35. You have to be this, you have to be that. But see, nobody ever told you that you need money also. They tell you all the get-ins, but they don't tell you that it takes money too. It takes money to run a campaign. Bottom line, run a campaign. Get all of that stuff out, get all of this out so you know what you're doing, so you can get out there and run. This is going to be, make no mistake about it, this is going to be the most beautiful shit show you ever seen come November 8th. Okay? November 8th. Now, there's a couple other things that's happened also. Now, and this is very point. I mean, to a point where it was actually laughable to me. It was really funny. It truly was. And I'm gonna tell you why it was funny. I'm gonna tell you why, because there's an A and a B part to this. Okay. If you haven't heard, there was an incident that happened at the Speaker of the House's home, Nancy Pelosi, or the Pelosi home. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House, and a guy broke into their home and attacked Paul Pelosi. Okay, broke into his house. Okay, broke into the house. Now, according to law enforcement, they say, well, there doesn't seem to be a connection to Paul or this gentleman. Okay, you know what? I find that a little bit hard to believe that there was no connection, or that because there's something in that. But see, when you're able to control the media, there's a lot that doesn't get out, a lot that you can keep to yourself. So they got this guy. They have this guy in custody, and it was a lot of interesting things that they found in his possession. Okay, that they found. Get this. Okay, I want to make sure that I got all this information correct. I want to make sure, because when I read it, I'm like, up, and I did have some in my notes. Okay, now. This is what this is. This is okay. Here we go. The man accused of breaking into the Pelosi residence faces several charges: attempted murder, along with federal assault and attempted kidnapping charges. Court filings revealed that David DePape told police he planned to hold. Get this. This is the part where I said it's hilarious. This is why I say it is. Okay. He told police that he planned on holding Nancy Pelosi hostage, and then break her kneecaps if she lied to him. Get this, okay? He threatened to break her kneecaps if she lied to him. Not only that, but this dude had duct tape and zip ties. You believe that, Earl? Prosecutors said that he had zip ties and other items to detain the speaker if she was home at the time. Instead, her husband became the victim. The charges filed today include attempted murder, residential burglary, assault with a deadly weapon, elderly abuse, false imprisonment of the elderly, as well as threats to a public official and their family. It just goes on. It reads like a novel. It reads like a novel. The fact that he had and he goes on to say, according to the statement that DePape made, that if Nancy Pelosi lied to him, he would break her kneecaps, and that he and when breaking her kneecaps, this would be the consequences of her actions. The consequences of her actions. Yes. Along with zip ties, tape, and rope, they found at least one hammer, which Mr. Pelosi was assaulted with. Now, the understanding is that when this man gained entry to the home, he ran across Paul Pelosi, and a small scuffle ensued. And apparently, he struck Pelosi literally struck him upside the head with the hammer, rendering him unconscious. Paul Pelosi was taken to a nearby hospital where he suffered a fractured skull. Where he was in surgery, and revealed that he suffered a fractured skull. Paul Pelosi, 82, remained hospitalized from the surgery due to this being struck with the hammer. One key question: how could a lightning rod political figure like Lightning Rod not be protected by a security team at her home? That is the $64,000 question. How did this guy gain entry? If she's the speaker, if she is the most, for lack of a better word, I will say influential, but the most visible person, where in the hell was her security team? that this man was actually able to get onto the grounds, gain entry into the house, and assault Paul Pelosi. Go upside his head with a hammer. I mean, upside his head, literally. Put him to sleep. He almost put him to sleep permanently. Almost. But as he goes on to say, he threatened to kidnap Pelosi and then tie her up with zip ties and break her kneecaps if she lied to him. Now they haven't said if they found a manifest on him or in his possession or in any of the social medias or things of that nature. But it's fairly possible that he had a to-do list. You just don't go through the rigmarole. You just don't go through that length to do something like that without some form of checklist, some type of list of item. This is what's going to happen. And the fact that he threatened to break her kneecaps, he already knocked her husband out with a hammer, and he was going to break her kneecaps if she lied to him. See, this leads me to believe that there is a remote chance that there is a connection, that these two people knew each other or had crossed paths at some point or another. Now let's just play the devil's advocate here, and before I go, before I go on, I'm gonna let you all know that hey, the phone lines are open if you have a comment concerning this containing this particular topic or any topic where we're getting into tonight, because everything is politically based tonight. Okay, so if you want to give a shout here at the studio, give me a call here at 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953 here at the studio, Black Conservative Podcast. So let's play the devil's advocate for a moment. Let's say that this guy and Paul Pelosi knew each other from whenever, wherever, whatever the case may be. And this guy's probably been to their home. Let's just say, just playing the devil's advocate now. Just playing the devil's advocate. Okay. Because, if I wish y'all could see this, because Earl is shaking his head. He said, no. Well, this is the beauty part of the show where you say, let's play the devil's advocate for a moment. Let's say that they knew each other at some function that they may have been. Now, here's the thing. It's a sidebar. Nancy Pelosi's district, congressional district, is San Francisco, Oakland, and two other counties. Okay, that's her district. Now, not only that, but San Francisco has the highest population of homelessness in the country. The highest population of homelessness. This is her district. When there are people sleeping in tents, cardboard boxes, sleeping bags in front of City Hall, out there on the Esplanade, people are sleeping like that. And this is your district. Not only that, but let's not forget that other knucklehead, the space cadet, that idiot Kamala Harris. She was a district attorney for that same district. So to a certain degree, maybe this guy had an axe to grind because he had seen enough of the outlandish bullshit that these people were perpetrating and acting like it didn't exist. Huh? Well, I don't know if I want, they haven't even led to that part about him. I can't, but but this is a good point. Trump, listen to me. Earl says, okay, maybe this guy could have been a Trump supporter. Huh? Okay. I mean, we everybody's entitled to their opinion. I love it. I'm just trying to think, I'm just trying to look at both sides and say, okay, what was his motive? Okay, what does he have to gain by attacking these people? But what I'm what that so I'm gonna follow this story. I'm gonna follow this story and see where it leads, and go from there. And by the way, this guy, short of the obvious, this guy has no bond. I guess he's one of those individuals that's gonna wait until January 1 when they start getting rid of cash bails, and then he'll be able to walk out of the jail. I guess he's where, or maybe he might have been his go-to plan to see if it actually worked. Who's to say? Who is to say? Now, what the heck? That being said, there's another. Okay, as the story, as more information comes in, the 42-year-old had posted memes and conspiracy theories online. His former girlfriend called our ABC sister station in San Francisco from prison, where wait, get this now. This I can't make this up, people. His former girlfriend called our ABC sister station in San Francisco from prison. His former girlfriend is calling the TV station from prison, where she's serving time for attempted abduction. He is mentally ill. He's been mentally ill for a long time, saying, and I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce this woman's name because it's something else to behold. But this is one of the things to where it's putting these politicians on notice that people are, my opinion is that regular people have had enough of being fed the garbage and cat litter that's full of everything known to man, and trying to convince us it's Cheerios. And these people they about had it. And so this is one guy that took action that, sometimes even to a point, some of us have thought the same thing. We just a little bit of common sense kicked in because we don't want to go to jail. This guy went the whole 9 yards. I mean, he had the what they call a kill kit. He went there. He was not going there for tea and cookies. He was not going there to sell them insurance. He was not going there to discuss a 401k plan. This was not happening. This guy went there with some business on his mind. Business, to handle the business. Now, that being said, we're only into week 4 of October, and I say that because the Supreme Court justices are back in session, or this is the new session, and they are hearing new cases, okay, which I've never seen the Supreme Court, as I said before. I've never seen the Supreme Court so active and this active. I've never seen it like this. Okay. And so right now, today's arguments, okay, and understand, okay, so for those that don't know, when the Supreme Court goes on, their session goes from October to June, okay. Or they reconvene, as they say, they reconvene the first Monday in October. Okay. So right now, this is the last Monday in October. So roughly 5 Mondays. So it's the last Monday of this month. And they've heard several cases. One of the cases, which is relatively poignant, of what is of this is what's very poignant, and it may affect some of you, and it may not. They're talking about striking down affirmative action. Now, for most of you, for those who do not know or understand what that is, affirmative action says that that certain entities, meaning, and this was directed at institutions of higher education, such as colleges, community, communities, universities, state, things of that nature, and also it was also aimed at businesses too, because what they're saying is that it's a way of saying you have to have so many minorities in your part of your employment, part of your institution, part of this. You have to have this. This is what they're saying. Okay, so what the Supreme Court has been tasked to do is to review this to see if it's actually something that we need to continue to enforce. Now, to be totally honest, no. If they're going to do something, if they're going to do away with affirmative action, then they need to do away with that. And I'm going to explain, and I'm going to tell you why. Because what difference does it make what color I am if I'm applying to a university, if I'm applying for a job, if I'm okay? What difference does that make? See, what happens is that this was a number. When they first mentioned this was actually a numbers game. You have to have X amount of numbers of minorities, and at the time, minorities only constituted blacks, because there was a point to where Hispanics or Mexicans were not counted, because that's just in that at the time. But because we were at the time were the more dominant race of far concerning people of color, this is the direction that it had to go. Now, today, the Supreme Court justices heard arguments from several lawyers. Okay, actually 5 lawyers. I mean, these people. I mean, they argued for 5 hours. 5 hours. I'm trying to think, what in the world could you all possibly have to say or talk about or discuss for 5 hours? One lawyer, there was a lawyer that was arguing for the University of Kentucky, and the other one was for the University of North Carolina. I'm sorry, University of Carolina and Harvard. That's the other. Okay, yeah, that's just wanted to correcting myself. Okay, and it goes on to say, the Supreme Court on Monday is hearing arguments on 2 potential landmark cases over how colleges and universities look at race in making admission decisions. This goes back to what I'm saying about race. What difference does it make what color I am if I'm applying to a university or a college? What difference does it make? For decades, schools have been able to use affirmative action to give preference to applicants from unrepresented minorities, using the argument that it promotes the interest of having diversity on the campus. Now, I want you all to earmark that. Promotes the interest of having diversity on campus. Now, let's just use that for a moment. Let's just throw that out the window. You have a number of people applying to colleges. See, the biggest thing is that when you're applying for a college, or when you're applying for a college or a job, there were times to where it asks you what race you were. And on a job application, some job applications ask you were you black, were you black, white, Hispanic, Indian, or mixed. This right there was a way of saying, okay, where they were actually keeping track of the numbers of how many blacks, how many Hispanics, how many Orientals, Native Americans were actually they're actually part of their network or nucleus, so to speak. Once you do away, and then at the same time, it gave preferential treatment, as it says, to underrepresented communities. Now, to a certain degree, that's fine. But let's say, for the sake of argument, Okay, let's put it there. Let me say it another way. College is not for everybody. Let's be totally honest. There are some people, there are some of us that are not college material, that are not built for college, and thirdly, shouldn't be going because it's going to be a waste of time and money for that individual because they're not focused enough on that. That's the gospel truth. So when you're taking somebody from a community and you're saying, oh, the only reason that he got into this university or he got into Harvard, he got into Yale, he got into Duke or Dartmouth, he got into the University of Kentucky, the University of Texas, he got into USC, he got into Oregon, he got into University of Illinois. Oh, because affirmative action helped him in. Now, not only he got in because of affirmative action, not because of his academics. A person should be able to go to school based on their academics. That should have been the gateway. But at a time when when blacks were not allowed to attend these institutions of higher learning, they had to create this gateway to say we got to create a level of diversity. See, affirmative action is a double-edged sword. It works one way, but then it cuts both ways. And when it cuts deep. It helps, but at the same time, it hurts. And even for myself, speaking and speaking from the position of a black man, truth be told, I don't see where affirmative action helped me at all. Truth be told. I went to college and I got in on my merits. I got in not by affirmative actions, but I got in on my merits. My grades weren't super duper, but I fucking got in. I don't this is the other thing to where it appears that when you use affirmative action, it's just it's a golden egg handed to you and you have no idea what to do with it because you've never had one. It's like handing somebody $1,000 and telling them to spend wisely. Well, here's the thing. It's like handing money to a 6-year-old and telling them not to go to the candy store. What are you doing? That's exactly what you're saying. So when she argued this, and now the freshman justice who argued this case, because here's the thing. Now let's get this straight too. Let's be clear on something. Right now, because now it's they're out in front. Right now, the Supreme Court is the most powerful entity in the country. They're more powerful than Congress, and they're damn sure more powerful than the president, than the executive branch. Or they say you have the executive branch and the legislative branch. The Supreme Court is the most powerful entity of the three right now, because these are the ones that nobody can tell them what to do. They tell the president what he can and cannot do. They tell Congress what they can and cannot do. They are the gatekeepers. They are the lawmakers. These are the ones that keep the peace. And it's going to be a lot of rulings that are going to come down that people are not going to be happy. And I'm going to tell you, affirmative action is going to be one of them, because when they strike that down, it's going to be holy hell for some. But for others, it's going to be a day of rejoicing, because now we have to, and I have to go on the belief that the Supreme Court is looking at everyone should be able to go to these universities or college, not based on how many blacks you have at the University of North Carolina, not how many Hispanics or blacks or Hispanics that you have applying to Harvard. These people let them get in on their merits, not based on color. What is happening now is that they're going to eliminate and some institutes have eliminated this altogether, where when you're applying, they no longer ask your race. Where such as jobs, they are not asking your race. That's like now with the within, I think, over the last 5 years, that they've taken this one box off. Okay, on a job application, they are always asking you, have you been convicted of a crime? And they ask you that question. Okay, what they did is that, and see, some people were afraid to say yes, some people were afraid to say, to answer that question, because if they answered that question, they were looking, they can't, they it's already put in their mind they're going to be disqualified. So what they've done is that they've eliminated asking that question completely. Now what's getting to a point to where they're no longer asking these questions about your color. What color are you? All they want to know, can you do the goddamn job? Are you qualified? Can you do it? Is this guy qualified? Is he set to come into this university, and is he able to hold his own? Is he able to make the grade? Is he able to do these things? I don't give a shit about his color. Can he do it? Can he keep up with the other individuals in his class? Can he do this? This is the direction it's going, because now also remember, now you have a conservative court, 6-3 conservative court, and the conservatives, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Chief Justice Roberts. Those are your 6. The liberals, Sotomayor, Jackson, and Elaine Keegan. And it's just ironic. There's just 3 women who are by themselves. It's just so ironic, but that's just the nature. Now, here's the other thing. Now, this is going to crack some people up. It really is. Here's the thing. Do you know that Donald Trump in the modern era is the only president to have seated 3 Supreme Court justices in his first term? No other president has ever done that. No other president. This dude seated 3 in his first term. And not only that, but he set the court. He set this court to be conservative for the next 50 years. That's exactly what he did. And to a certain degree, it has to be conservative, because we have to get back to certain things, certain ways of life that was most beneficial for most of us anyway. Most beneficial. But getting to the argument, for decades, students for fair admission, however, claim that policies at Harvard and University of North Carolina discriminated against applicants who are not from such minority groups on the basis of race. In particular, a group claims that Asian Americans suffer from the practices of both schools, and that white applicants are also harmed by the UNC. See this, and see that affirmative action, it hurts, it helps, but it also hurts. So if you're opening the door to this deal to where, hey, everybody can get in, that was the whole principle of this. But why this was put in place, because there was a time, as we all know, there was a time where blacks were not allowed. We were denied education. So that had to change. Now we have to backtrack. We have to look at this again and say, okay, is this now necessary? It's one of those things to where we're looking at the how far we've moved, how far we've come with technology and DNA and solving crimes. Certain things are no longer viable in the times that we are living in because of technology. Now, certain things are no longer viable, such as affirmative action. It's no longer viable because we have so many different races and a mixture of races to almost to a point you don't know who's who and who you don't know who's who and who's what. And not only that, but when you're talking about these jackasses, well, I want to be non-binary, or genderless or whatever the case may be. See, that's some more bullshit that we opening up a door to. Look, very simply put, if you want an education, eliminate certain questions because they no longer apply to today's society. No longer applies. So you no longer put race or so you no longer put race or gender. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? If whoever's paying the bill, that's all that matters. At issue in both cases is whether the court should overrule its precedent in the 2003 Grutter versus Bollinger, in which said that colleges and universities can consider race in order to have a diverse student body. The court decided to hear the case separately, as the UNC is a public school and Harvard is private. So legal issues are not totally identical. In the University of North Carolina, which is being argued first, the court will consider whether the school acted properly in rejecting a race-neutral alternative. In the Harvard case, it will look at whether the school violated the Title 11 of the Civil Rights Act by penalizing Asian Americans with their policies. Now, you see, this is a hot mess because now you're saying Asian Americans. See, at one point it was African Americans. Then you got Asian Americans. Then you got Latin Americans. All of the, this is a this is a part of, of the mishmash of individuals of where we're coming to and where we're at. Racial classification is wrong. The principle was enshrined in our law at great cost following the Civil War, according to Patrick Strawbridge at the beginning of his argument against the UNC on behalf of their student group. So this is a very difficult thing here. Very difficult thing to really put your finger on, because it's going to be a hot button topic. And the Supreme Court, and I'm getting waved, and the Supreme Court is they're going to be busy for the next 10 months. They're going to be very, very busy. Very busy. But with that being said, I see the lights flashing in the distance and the helicopter has landed, which means that's all the time that we have here tonight on tonight's show, Black Conservative Podcast. All right. So with that, I want to give a shout out to my man, Alex. Hey, my sponsor, Captain Hooks. Hey, 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Kedzie in Markham, Illinois. All right. With that being said, not my monkey, not my circus. I'm headed to the Batmobile.
For 25 years, ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas gave you the straight news. Now he's giving you real talk on the governor's race.
These Democrats are into name calling. They'll call people a racist, a misogynist, a homophobic person, or whatever, because they want to distract from the fact that they've accomplished so little in public office. And it's time people woke up and recognized that. J.B. Pritzker, what's he ever done outside of being born on third base and telling the world he hit a triple? J.B. Pritzker and his people called Darren Bailey an extremist. Darren Bailey? I met the man. He's a family farmer, somebody who understands what it's like to go to work every day, somebody who's fair-minded. I can trust this guy. Yeah, a farmer from Southern Illinois. Yeah, farmer from Southern Illinois.
Paid for by People Who Play by the Rules PAC.